Welcome to the Life You Crave. Simple and sustainable weight loss for women who have better things to do than diet. I'm your host, Lia Pinnelli. I help ambitious, badass women stop overeating, overworking, and overgiving to lose weight from a place of love. I'll help you simplify weight loss, end your overwhelm, and create the life you crave. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe to this podcast. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to the Life You Crave. I am your host, Lia Pinnelli. And today on the show, I want to share with you the question that I asked myself that really shifted my health challenges to what I feel like are now opportunities. I know that sounds super cliche, but let me just explain. I want to share with you a little bit about my journey and what I've been going through for the last 10 months and how I was able to really shift from being in a place of what felt like victimhood to being in a space that felt like I was actually growing and becoming more expansive and making a bigger and better impact despite the health challenges. So some of my listeners may know, because I've mentioned it here and there on the show, and I've talked about it a little bit on social media, but I have been experiencing a host of health issues for the last, I'd say probably 8 to 10 months or so. The symptoms that I've been having do not have a diagnosis from a doctor. All kinds of things have kind of come up. I'm working with a bajillion different specialists. But the symptoms that have actually really bothered me the most, I mean, all of my symptoms have been troublesome, right? Because you wonder what's going on, what's happening? Why is my body all of a sudden unhappy? The symptom, though, that has been the most, and I'll use the word, the most invasive in my life, the most disruptive to my life, was the symptom of fatigue. So I was experiencing a bunch of issues such as migraines, like this increasing frequency of migraines, unexplained cough, chest congestion, all kinds of things were going on. Hypoglycemia. I mean, like who knows where all of these things were coming from, and they were coming quite quickly. But the thing that really was problematic for me in my life was fatigue. I was experiencing extreme fatigue, at least extreme for me, right? Being like this super energetic go-getter of a woman. All of a sudden, I would get up in the morning, have my cup of coffee, walk my dog, and come home and have to go back to bed, even though I had had 9-10 hours of sleep the night before, have to go back to bed because I was so exhausted. And this was happening to me day in and day out. And it really started to scare me, not because I was worried about my health, by the way. All of my fellow highly ambitious women out there are going to identify with this. I wasn't even totally concerned about my health. I was concerned about the impact that this health condition, this fatigue, this constant illness was having on my ability to make an impact, i.e. my business, right? I'm an entrepreneur. I own my business, The Life You Crave. And not only is this my revenue stream, my income, but even that aside, this is my passion. Like, this is my mission in life, is to free up the mental real estate that women are currently using, counting calories and carbs. And instead, let's, shift that. Let's pivot. Let's take that energy and direct it toward what really matters in our lives, like building businesses, like caring for kids, like contributing to our communities, running for office, right? Like, let's start to see more women in leadership if we really were able to free up that mental real estate, which we can, by the way. It's exactly what I teach my clients how to do and what I've been able to do over the years. So my bigger concern was, oh my gosh, what about my work? What about my mission? What about my contribution? Now, luckily for me, I have my schedule arranged in such a way that I was able to continue to see all of my clients through this period. But what I wasn't able to do was the hours and hours and hours of behind the scenes stuff that every business owner does in order to keep their business afloat, right? We're talking about, bookkeeping and marketing and, running the show, right? Running the show, the podcast, itself is a bunch of work, right? So all of a sudden I started to really become really concerned about the impact that these new symptoms were having on my ability to perform. Not only that, but any of you who have had a health condition, a chronic health condition, or just a serious health condition knows that it's not just the symptoms that invade your life, which are super uncomfortable and awful, but it's also all of the time and energy that it takes to navigate your healthcare system, right? So there's so much. I was just telling the story, and I'm going to tell you guys, and this might be TMI for you, but as I always say to my clients, there's no such thing as TMI in my world. Literally, this is what happened just the other day. I'm working with a gastroenterologist now, right? I've seen a million specialists. I've seen rheumatologists and endocrinologists and, you name it, right? Like I've been referred in and out to everybody because my symptoms haven't had an explanation yet. They will. But so now I'm working with a gastroenterologist who had me collect a poop sample. Any of you done this before? I'm sure you have. I had to collect a poop sample and I had to scoop the poop into these different little vials. And I had to put a couple of them in the freezer and a couple of them in the fridge. And then I had to make an appointment to drop them off at the lab, and they had to be cold. So I packed them in ice and did all this stuff, right? Which is fine, right? No big deal. I got to poop anyway. So I just collected some poop, put it in the vials, put it in the freezer. My husband loves it when I do this, by the way. I'm totally joking if you can't see my face. My husband absolutely hates it whenever I've had to do anything involving poop because this isn't the first time. But I make the appointment. Everything's going great. I get there with my little cooler bag with my poop samples in it, only to find out that I needed to have brought my paperwork back with me, which nobody told me that I needed to bring my paperwork again because I brought it the first time when they gave me all the information, all of the materials. So now I have to call my doctor's office and get them to fax the paperwork over to the lab. So I do that, but nobody's answering my doctor's office. Even though it doesn't say on the outgoing message that they close for lunch, I called a different number, the procedures department. They're like, oh, maybe they're out to lunch. The whole runaround. So then I realized by the time these people get back from lunch, I could have gone all the way home and gotten the paperwork and come back to the lab. And the guy already told me he's going to throw my sample away in 24 hours if I don't have the paperwork. I'm like, you are not throwing away this poop sample, right? I did all the scooping and the pooping. I want to get this done. So I drive home, I get the paperwork, I go back. My point here is that all of that took time on a Monday, right? Obviously, from the making the appointment to showing up to the appointment to then having to drive back and forth. And you might say, oh, well, that's just a fluke that you had to drive back and forth. But this is how it goes, right? It's like one appointment after another, after another, after another, on the phone with your insurance company because they're billing you for something. Oh, but it's this commitment. It becomes like a part-time job if you're lucky. And I'm sure for some of you out there, it's become a full-time job when you are working to manage a health condition. So I'm sharing this with you because I want to impress upon all of you that if you've been here, I relate to you. And if you haven't been here, this is kind of what it's like, right? Where it's like, you get hit with a health condition and your time has to be allocated elsewhere because the only alternative is that I ignore it, but then I have to sleep all the time. So I'm still not able to work. I became that mom who my son would come home from school and I was in bed all the time. I hadn't been in bed all day. I was able to get up, see clients, get a little work done, but I would have to go back to bed for hours each day. And I was like, oh my gosh, is this going to be my life? Am I going to be that mom that my kid remembers as my mom was always in bed? My mom was always sick. My mom always didn't feel well. And I hated to think about that, right? Who doesn't hate to think about that? So here is how I have come out on the other side. First and foremost, I am 100% committed to working with my doctors and my medical team to figure this out. But also I have done quite a bit. I'm a big reader, so I have poured into the literature, reading, overwhelming myself, talking with as many people as I can who have similar symptoms or diagnoses. I have made this almost a full-time job in addition to my full-time job. But I will tell you that there came a point where I was like, okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done doing all of the reading and the researching. I was just starting to go in circles. And I'm ready to just allow my medical team I'm ready to just continue with the process that's already laid out for me. The good news is that a lot of my symptoms have improved. Now, I know some of you are going to be asking, okay, well, what did you do to make your symptoms improve? And I will tell you that that right there is a bit of a linchpin for me, because I recognized through this process, because I am I like to think of myself as an empowered woman. I have a great deal of self-efficacy and a great deal of self-agency. I'm like a woman who, if I decide to get something done, I can get it done. So I've been treating this health condition in the same way. And so I've been doing all the things. Like I did the autoimmune protocol and I eliminated this and I added that and I moved this way and I slept this way and I changed my day around and I did all of these things that are recommended. I took this supplement and that. I can't tell you how much money I spent on all the supplements and all the things. But at the end of the day, what I realized was I was approaching this as if I created it. I was taking responsibility in a way. Like I felt like I had to fix me because it must be something that I'm doing to myself or something I'm not doing that could be solving this problem, right? Maybe it's because I drink wine. That was one that came up a lot. I drink wine too often, and maybe that's what was causing all this fatigue. No, girl, it is not. A couple glasses of wine a couple nights a week is not going to cause chronic fatigue, right? So but it became this thing where I was just constantly self-scrutinizing all of my actions. And really the big one was, what am I not doing? What supplements am I not taking? What, naturopath have I not seen? Who have I not talked to? What book have I not read? What question have I not asked? It became all consuming in a way. And so when I share with you that my symptoms have subsided substantially, I don't necessarily know that it's anything that I did, because so much of what's happening in terms of our health is not actually because we caused it, and it's not actually in our control to totally fix it. So that being said, I want to share with you the question that changed everything. So even though my symptoms have gotten better, and even though I'm feeling better, not all of them, by the way, I'm still working with specialists. There's still lots to figure out. But even though I'm feeling better, this question is what actually changed everything for me in terms of how I was living with these health challenges. And I want to share it with you because it's been such a game changer for me and so powerful that I want to make sure it's out there for you all to play with as well. The question that I had to ask myself eventually was this. Okay, Lia, I have these health challenges. I don't know what's going on. I don't have answers. But there has to be some kind of reason that this is occurring, right? So the question that I asked myself was, what does my body, because my health condition was all about my body, right? My conditions were all about my body. What is my body asking me to know about myself? Now, that last part, the about myself, don't skip that. That's really important. What is my body asking me to know about myself? And here's what came up for me with that answer. It took a while. I had to ask it many times. I had to allow myself to get quiet, which, by the way, I was quiet a lot of the time because I was laying in bed not feeling good. But what was it that my body was asking me to know about myself? And here's what the answer was. My body needed me to know that I physically could not continue to run my business the way that I was running it. So as I mentioned, I'm a go-getter. I'm highly ambitious. I have degrees. I graduated magna cum laude from Berkeley, 4.0 from Stanford. You get it, right? Sorry, there goes my alarm. You get it. Well, I've been running my business the same way, with that same push energy, that same masculine go-getter energy. And by the way, I love that energy. There's nothing wrong with that energy, but my body was letting me know that energy was not going to allow me to live the life that I crave, because that energy might get my business where I want it to be and might make the impact that I'm wanting to make on the world in terms of my message and freeing up the mental real estate and really empowering women to feel good in their own skin. But I was not going to be the vivacious woman along with that. I was going to have to find another way. And so all of that time that I spent in bed, not feeling well, I really, really explored this idea of, if I were to run my business differently, that, by the way, my business is my life in a lot of ways. If I were to run it differently, what might that look like? And I did not try to figure out the answer. I just allowed myself to be open and receptive to whatever dropped in, right? And so for those of you out there who believe in, energy of the universe, might be universe dropping in. For those of you who are God people, maybe it's God dropping in. Maybe if you're just like, I'm all about my inner knowing, it might just be you listening to your own dang voice. But the point is that the answers came. The answers came about not only how can I do this differently, but what was uncovered for me was this recognition that doing it this other way was so exhilarating. The idea of running my business with this slightly, you won't even notice from the outside, for those of you who know my business, The Life You Crave, but from the inside, the energetic shift has been totally life-changing. And maybe I'll get into that in another podcast, but that's for another conversation. But I want to share that question with you because I invite you to ask yourself that question. And maybe you're not suffering from a health challenge right now. Maybe it's just a body challenge, right? Like it could be chronic pain. It could be weight issues, right? Whatever it is. But what is my body asking me to know about myself? We just got into a big conversation about this last night in my Fempire, which is my group, and about when your body responds with bloat or with weight gain, what is your body asking you to know about yourself, right? It might be asking you to know that those foods that you just consumed aren't supportive to your body's optimal health. Even though you think they should be, your body just wants you to know that. And it's not necessarily mean, I have to be a slave to my body now, but it is a matter of how do I fall in love with my body in a way that I want to work with it, right? I want us to work together. I want this to be a symbiotic relationship, a mind-body experience. I promise you, you will get so much further in terms of your health and whatever your weight goals are and your food relationships are. You will get so much further with those things, but as I hope my story has illustrated, it transcends to so many other parts of your life, to your business, to your relationships. By making this energetic shift in my business, I'm able to show up differently with my family, right? I'm able to show up with a different energy, a different focus, and I'm making a bigger impact on the women that I want to be making an impact on. And I couldn't ask for more. So I don't want to say that I'm grateful for the health challenges, but I am grateful for the opportunity that these health challenges have given me to really drop in and listen to myself, my inner knowing, my inner teacher, so to speak, because it's been really, really life-changing and really transformative. So that is what I have for you all today. I would love to chat with you further if you are also experiencing similar symptoms or health challenges. You can always reach out to me over at liapinnelli.com and just click on Let's Chat, and let's chat. Ciao.
You've been listening to The Life You Crave. I lost 30 pounds years ago without dieting, willpower, or deprivation. I'm on a mission to help other women, including you, do the same. You can book a free weight loss strategy session with me over at liapinnelli.com. That's liapinnelli.com. See you on our next call or on the next episode. And remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on iTunes.